Hi guys, welcome back to Gym Girls Unfiltered. This is gonna be a really fun episode today. We wanted to do debunking some fitness myths. So we have a list of 8 different things that we want to debunk, talk through, things that we see a lot on social media where it's like, all right, let's kind of set the record straight a little bit. But we want to start off this episode giving us like a little update of where we're all at, what we're up to, and then we'll jump into the episode. So Caroline, what's up with you?
Yeah, so had some check-ins this morning, still in my growing season, feeling so good, probably the best I've ever felt. And then just had a really great interview for a big girl job. So that will be something I could talk about more. And then also some changes happening in my bodybuilding career. So that will be coming soon. I will give you guys an update and definitely talk more about that. For now, I'm going to keep it a little behind the scenes, but yeah, lots of fun, great things going on, and we'll continue to share more. But Kate?
Well, if you guys know, I just got a puppy, so sorry if you can feel
He's
sorry if you can feel him growling or hear him growling in the background. But besides that, bodybuilding wise, we are still trying to figure out some hormone things for me. Haven't had a cycle since January 2024, which is a huge red flag. So there's some hormone panels that are looking off. So we wanted a more in-depth look to the root cause of everything. So we just did a GI map a couple weeks ago, and the results finally came back. And then we did the Dutch test, which is a dried urine. It's dried urine test of a comprehensive hormone panel. So very like crazy stuff, very big stuff. But we're waiting for the Dutch test results to come back, and then me and my coach are going to go into like a little health phase protocol to fix everything. And then fingers crossed, I get my cycle back and I'm completely healthy. But other than that, just growing and getting healthy. So Alani, what you have going on?
Yeah, growing. I'm near the end of my reverse diet, competed a month ago now, which is crazy, a little over a month ago. So working on that reverse diet and then transitioning into a lean growth phase. So it's been going really well. Food is still slowly coming up. Cardio, I don't have any programmed cardio, just steps. So I'm feeling really good. Just working on getting, my hormones back in check. Still haven't gotten my cycle back yet. Obviously that takes some time, but I think, we're all just kind of focusing on growing. So that's been really fun, finding a balance, honestly, being post-show. So it's been really good. I've been having like a really good time. And this is probably the best like my reverse has ever gone. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling strong. So yeah, that's been really fun.
You're looking good too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. So
we're
are both of you
officially
guys.
all in a growing season together, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And
And we'll be for a while.
I love how I'll talk about the growing part of it for bodybuilding, but like also like the overall health aspect too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough, especially in the bodybuilding space. But yeah, it all comes down to nutrition and what we're doing. So we're all really big on the health side of things too, which I think is super important, especially as women, with our hormones
For sure.
and everything like that. So it's going to be cool to just share that side of it for all of us as well. But let's get into the episode. So the first thing we have on our list is waist trainers. Girls, how do we feel about waist trainers?
Oh, all right. So I think that they can be used when you're using them the right way. So like for me personally, I used a Squeeze Me Skinny, but not during training because my coach did not want me to use it during training because it kind of can take over your core. But I will say, because of how I'm built, just like more boxy and like wide because I'm so short, I'm only 5 foot tall. I just used it to kind of just help my core and give me more of that hourglass shape. But I don't think that they should not be normalized.
I completely agree. I think a lot of people, like you said, sorry I had to change positions because Boone was going crazy. But like you said, I think a lot of people think that waist trainers are actually going to train your waist to be super small, when realistically that losing like waist inches and fat, you have to be in overall calorie deficit, which you're going to talk more about in here. But a lot of it comes down to structure and genetics too. I think a lot of people want to change their structure and genetics, and waist trainers just don't do that. Like, yeah, they make you feel super tight, but when you take that off, like you're actually just going to have the same exact structure. And a big thing that I've seen working out at a bodybuilding type gym is I will see a lot of women, especially come in there and train in waist trainers, which I guess like they like the way it makes them look and maybe feel like in the tight shorts or whatever. But if you think about it, when you have something that's like sucking in your waist, you can't properly brace your core. And that's going to hurt your lifts, but it's also going to not let you train your abdominal muscles, which can hurt your physique, honestly.
Yeah,
Alani?
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I think that's a really good thing to bring up as well, is like within your training, you want to be bracing your core. And I feel like the waist trainers don't really, I never really thought about that aspect of it. I'm always thinking about the nutrition side of it, like you talked about, Kate, where it's like, I think obviously it comes down to what you want to do and what makes you feel good. But I think a lot of people will buy a waist trainer, their target market, right? With the idea of, oh, this is what's going to change my body composition. And this is what's going to make me have an hourglass shape and all these different types of things, when maybe they're overlooking what they're eating, how they're training, all these different types of things. So I think when we think big picture, what's actually going to make the change that most people are wanting to see, we want to do that in a calorie deficit, right? Being in that sweet spot where we're losing some body fat, we're retaining the muscle that we do have. And a lot of that comes down to nutrition. So I think it comes down to like, okay, are we focusing, like maybe it's something that might change things like 1%, but we're focusing in on the things that are actually going to change our body composition, which is our nutrition.
And honestly, like I wouldn't cut them completely out, because if they make you feel good, that's fine. Like I used to wear one during cardio, or like even just sitting there, because it does help with posture, and I tend to slump over. So I think it's a great like tool to use, but I think a lot of people abuse it.
Yeah.
So like if I were to use one, I would use it maybe like during cardio, just because it does help you like kind of sweat a little more and it feels good. But definitely not during training or anything.
Yeah.
For sure.
Cool. That's a good one. That's a good one to start off with. The
Yeah.
second one we had on the list, which I think is a really cool one, since we do all come from a bodybuilding background. This is something I get a lot of questions on, like with my prep series on YouTube, because when I'm in prep, and I think all three of us, when we're in prep, we mainly do fasted cardio, I would say. And I'll let you guys speak on that as well. But that's something that I do when I'm in prep, is I do my cardio fasted. And I get a lot of questions about like, okay, are you losing more fat because you're doing cardio fasted as opposed to fed cardio, like first thing in the morning before you eat or do anything, and doing your cardio then? So what is your guys' opinions of fasted cardio versus fed cardio with fat loss and all those different types of things?
Yeah, for me, honestly, when I was in prep, it's gonna sound crazy. I know you just like brought up always doing fasted cardio. If I could do my cardio fasted, like I would always prefer to do it fasted. But my coach said it honestly didn't really matter to her as long as I did get my cardio in. Like I'm still burning the calories, I'm still doing my cardio. She was like, it doesn't really matter if you do it fasted or fed. I think that there's benefits to both, and I think that fasted cardio is great. Like even now, I have 5x15 moderate intensity, and like this morning, if I could do it fasted, I will do it fasted. But I think that it really comes down to whatever works for you, works for your schedule. And like I always say, as long as you check off all your boxes. So like if you can't do it fasted, or you can do it fasted, it's not going to make or break what's happening to you. You just need to make sure to get it done.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. In prep, I always did my cardio fasted, and not because like my coach wanted me to, but it was because with my training, like I was already so depleted, and I felt like just after my training, I was done for. I felt like my blood sugar was low. I felt like I was going to pass out, and I really just didn't have enough energy to efficiently do my cardio. But I will say, now that I'm in an off season, I do prefer to do my cardio post workout, because I'm well fed. I'm already there. I was like, let me just go ahead and do it. And it did take me a long time after prep to get out of that mindset, like, oh, I need to wake up and do cardio instantly. But now I'm trying to be good about prioritizing my sleep and making sure I'm rested enough, and then waking up every day to do fasted cardio for like, not for no reason, but when I could do it after my workout was just kind of hindering my recovery. But like you said, you guys, like it doesn't matter if you do it fasted or fed. What matters is if you get it done. And I may be wrong about this, but I think that in the bodybuilding space, why some people are like, you have to do fasted cardio, is because I think there's like these big bodybuilder guys like on supplements and stuff that if you do fasted cardio, it does have like a 1% like efficiency, but none of us are on that or like have to worry about that. So if you are like a bikini competitor, a wellness competitor even, or like just a lifestyle client, don't think you have to do your cardio fasted and that's the only way to do it. Do it like when works best for you. Another reason I like doing mine after my workout is because my heart rate is already like super high and I feel like it's just easier to get it up. And I don't have to like jack up the Stairmaster incline treadmill, which is obviously better for recovery at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a really good point too. And I'll touch on like why I do fasted cardio during prep. Because I do fasted cardio pretty much every single session during prep. But when I'm not in prep, like right now, I was doing it mainly post-workout. If I wanted to do it in the morning, I would, and I'll touch on that more in a second. But what you said, Kate, where it's like your what were you talking about? It was something about
After training, like my blood sugar is just already so low in prep.
exactly. So that's another thing is that I remember back when I first started getting into the gym, and now I get questions from girls that are like starting out in the gym, or maybe they're like trying to take it to the next level, is if you're doing your cardio at the same session that you're going to the gym, which is what most people are going to do. Like people aren't going to go to the gym twice in a day if you're not like a bodybuilder, right? So what I would recommend is definitely doing it post workout instead of going to the gym, doing your cardio, and then doing your weight training, because then you're not wasting, it's not a waste, but you're spending all of that energy, all of that food that you have on your cardio, when really that energy is it's way more efficient to spend it on training, breaking down the muscle, where we really, really, really need to have like the highest return for our nutrition, and then ending out your session with cardio. So that is one thing that I would recommend that does like make a little bit of a difference, just because of logistically what you're using that energy for and all of that stuff. But I completely agree with Caroline and Kate. It doesn't make a difference as far as fat loss long term. It's just a matter of, the balance of your energy input and your energy output, right? So the reason that I was doing fasted cardio during all of my prep was because of the timing. Like when we're in prep, like I had 6 meals a day. So if I went to the gym, if I had my pre-workout meal and then I went to the gym and I trained, and then I did my cardio at the end, which is a lot of cardio when you're in prep, it would be way too long in between meals. So that's why I would do my cardio fasted, and then I would have my meal, and then it would be like a shorter span of time between meals. So that's the reason I did it during cardio. And then when I get deep in cardio, I'm having 2 sessions of cardio a day. So one of those has to be fasted. The other one is going to be post lift. But yeah, I couldn't agree with them more. Honestly, it just depends on how much. If you're just getting it done in the day, it doesn't matter when you're doing it.
Yeah. And I think a big thing too, like whatever works for someone's lifestyle is what they should do. Because let's say like you have to get up at like 5 a.m., be at work by 6, and then you're at work all day. You don't want to get up at like 3:30 or 4 to just do your cardio if you do not have to. Like if you have to, you have to make it work. But if you don't have to and you're just waking up for no reason when you can do it later, like don't do that. Sleep's the most important thing.
Yeah,
For sure.
I agree. All right. Well,
Awesome.
third one, which I think is like maybe the one that I'm the most excited to talk about and debunk, especially as like nutrition coaches. I love the nutrition side of things. So, spot reducing body fat. We always get the question of how do I tone up my stomach? How do I lose fat on my arms? How do I do these different types of things? And big picture, like you can't spot reduce fat. When you're losing body fat in a certain area, especially all of us as bodybuilders, like we see our our core get more defined. We see our abs start to come out, but it's not because we're doing ab workouts. It's not because we're having a squeeze me skinny on. It's because we're in a calorie deficit. It's because we're losing body fat overall our entire body. You can't be like, all right, right there, I want to lose body fat. What exercises can I do? When you're doing an ab workout, when you're doing an arm workout, and they're like, oh, they're toning workouts, what you're doing is you're building that muscle underneath. You're not losing the fat in that area. The only way you can lose body fat in a certain area is by losing body fat all over your body, by fixing your nutrition, staying in a calorie deficit. But I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think also it comes down to genetics and the way you're built and where you carry body fat at, because personally for me being so short, and having such a short torso, I don't carry any fat in my back. I don't carry a ton of fat in my legs or my butt. I carry a ton of, like, most of my fat just goes to my stomach, and honestly, it goes to my boobs, and that's just where I hold most of my fat. So like I had a client the other day be like, how do I lose fat? I think it was like on the back under my armpit or something. And I was like, honestly, you can't. It comes down to you being in your calorie deficit, you losing body fat over time. But that just might be a place that you hold on to fat and a place that is going to be harder to get it off at. So I think it really does come down to exactly what Alani says, being in a calorie deficit and over time pulling that body fat away. But it is going to take time, and some spots you're not going to be able to completely lose that fat that you want to lose. That's just where you hold it genetically.
Yeah, totally. A lot of people, including myself when I got into fitness, thought like if they did a bunch of crunches or like those clothing ab workouts we talked about before,
I did it too.
Yeah.
they would burn all the belly fat and then get that like snatched toned waist that every girl wanted. Or like I remember just like being so scared my arms were like gonna hang one day, and I was like, okay, what do I have to do? So like, I found this like get rid of flabby arms in like a week YouTube series.
Did it work?
No. But I was
I
like,
remember
really?
those like 30-day like ab workout challenges I would do with my mom in the living room, and it was like, we're gonna be ripped by the end of this.
like the screenshot calendar on Pinterest.
Yes, that exact one.
But I remember I would like do arm circles and like just stupid stuff. But you can not choose where your body burns fat. Fat loss is a systemic process, and how it happens for everyone is going to be different. It depends on your metabolism, genetics, hormones, dieting history, and then kind of where you're currently at, what your lifestyle looks like. But you cannot choose where you burn body fat at. And I don't think a lot of people want to accept that there's no quick fix or anything. I think a lot of people want to be told, oh, here's this one thing, and this is how you're going to lose it in 7 days or 6 days or something crazy. And I don't think a lot of people are committed to the fact that it takes consistency and patience and time. And honestly, just doing the basic stuff. The only way to burn body fat in a certain spot is go into a calorie deficit and then just lose fat all over. And like Caroline was saying, your body is kind of going to choose where you hold more body fat. For me, I hold most of my body fat in my legs. So it's completely different from me and Caroline. And sadly, I wish you could choose where you put body fat at, because I would be like, boop, 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 boop. But you can't do that. And it sucks, but it's just what happens. But I do think like if you build more muscle, the leaner you can stay and the leaner you will look. Like I'm like 139, 140 right now. And the way I look now compared to when I looked 2 years ago when I weighed 139, 140, completely different. I have way less abdominal fat, way less leg fat, but it's because I've built muscle. And so now my body can kind of like, now that I have that built muscle and foundation, it does look leaner. Even though there's still body fat there, it just kind of looks different, if that makes sense. I don't really know how to explain.
Yeah,
No,
for
that
sure.
totally makes sense.
I know for like I love how you talk about quick fixes, because we have so many clients, Paige and I, who come to us and they like just want that change, even if it's in a month. And I tell people, I'm like, Paige's 25-pound weight loss journey took her 6 months. Like that is not something that happened overnight. That happened through like consistency, showing up day in and day out, and being patient. And I think that like the big thing is people want quick fixes nowadays, and it's like, how can I do this like this fast? And then people go and they take Ozempic or they do this and do that, go on this keto diet, and then pull off of it, and they're back to square one. I'm like, you just have to be patient and trust the process.
Well, I think a lot of it's like a placebo effect too.
Yep.
Because they're like, oh, I'm on this now, so now I can lose fat. And honestly, it may like help a little bit. I don't know. I've never been on any of that. But I think a lot of it's in their mind, because they're like, oh, now I have this, so now I can really do this. But I think if a lot of people just kind of committed to the process and accepted that there's no like pretty or easy or quick fix, I feel like a lot of people would be more successful.
Yeah, I think it's really like cool too from a bodybuilding perspective of like seeing how your body can change, and not only that, but how different we all are from each other. Like what you were saying, where Kate, you hold fat differently than where Caroline holds fat, but like we all go through the same process and we can see our body change. And like you guys said, it's like it's time and consistency. There's no magic tricks. It's just, I don't know, there's something really powerful too about knowing like how to change your body composition. Like I think that's so cool to me. Like even going back and seeing when I was, 30 pounds higher than I am now, and like how it's changed. And Kate, like what you're saying, where it's like, okay, when I'm 120 now, that's completely different than when I was 120 3 years ago, and I have more muscle on me. And I don't know, maybe that's like the nerdy side, but I love just like seeing how our bodies can morph through like what we do.
Yeah, and like if you stay consistent and just keep building muscle, it's so cool to look back at where you were. And honestly, what is the most amazing part is you don't understand how much progress you're actually making. But like if you like take a picture of you now and then look back 2 years ago when you first started your fitness journey, your mind would be blown. And
Yes.
sometimes it's like just small changes, but over time those small changes lead to big results.
Exactly. And that's something that I like always like to tell anybody if they're getting into the gym or starting to take it serious is take so many pictures, even if they don't go anywhere. Take so many pictures because I wish I had more from when I started. So I
Me
could freeze
too.
changes. It's so crazy. And like you're saying, it's like these things take time. So when you have those pictures to look back on, it's like it's really cool. It's really motivating because at the end of the day, that's the only person you should be comparing yourself to.
Yep.
So our fourth point, is kind of like similar to what we were talking about, but tone and workout plans versus strength training. So let me hear what you guys have to say about this.
Yeah, I think this kind of goes back to an episode that we had a few weeks ago where it's like working out versus training. So if you haven't seen that one, I would definitely listen to that one because as you guys know, we are all for training and training in the most efficient way that you can to build that lean muscle underneath. But when people say that they want to tone up, I know on social media, everybody's like, toning isn't a thing. Toning isn't a thing. But I think at the root cause, getting around what people mean when they say toning is they mean that they want more muscle and a little bit less body fat. So I think at the end of the day, when you see a toning workout, and like Kate was saying earlier, it's like, I would do this 1 week, toning arms, lightweight. That's not going to get you the result that you want because the result that you want, that toned look that you want, is coming from having more muscle on you and having less body fat on you. So we already tackled, okay, having less body fat, be in a calorie deficit. That's all from nutrition, right? And then having more muscle comes from weight training and doing so effectively. And that comes down to more about like progressive overload, which we're going to talk about more. But yeah, Caroline, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I was also gonna kind of pull into kind of around this too is girls thinking that they're going to get bulky from strength training. And I think that is a big thing on social media nowadays is like
Especially with
I
the
want
Pilates versus weightlifting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I want to get tone, but I don't want to get bulky. And at the end of the day, as a woman, strength training is the best thing you can do to get that toned look, and you're not going to look bulky at all. Like that's just not possible.
And if you do, because I do see people, they'll be like, you know what? I switched to Pilates. And again, no hate to Pilates. I did Pilates this morning. I've been doing it like twice a week and I love it. But people will be like, oh, I was weight training heavy and I got bulky. A lot of times what happens with that is one, it could be in your head. Like I think a lot of people just, think that they got bulky, but again, you deserve to look the way that you want to look. But I think what happens when people are upset with how they look after weight training is they didn't focus as much on the nutrition side of things. And they didn't focus on reducing overall body fat, which is coming from a calorie deficit. And we're always big on, you don't want to be in a calorie deficit for all the time. You don't want to shrink yourself, all that stuff. But I think when people feel like they got bulky is they might have just added some body fat because of their nutrition.
Yeah, the boyfriends made them bulk and hit arms 5 times a week. But what I would have to say about this topic is a lot of girls come to me, like you said, Caroline, they're like, I don't want to get bulky. I just want to tone. But there's no such thing as like a tone and workout like we talked about in our last podcast. What toning means to these people is it's really just building muscle and reducing body fat so that you can see the muscle definition. So when a lot of girls come to me and they're like, oh, I just want to tone, they're like, I want to do high reps, very low weight. Like I'm not touching anything heavier than a 10-pound dumbbell. But it's almost like a dampened version of like what actually strength training is. So kind of how I approach this with my clients is I'm like, okay, let's start there. But each week I want you to lift a little bit heavier or go grab like 2.5-pound more weight, but add a little bit more reps or like come down in your reps. And then they kind of like something clicks with them and we start talking about progressive overload and stuff. And they're like, okay, like I'm actually seeing some muscle definition now because they're building muscle. And when you actually like weight lift, your metabolism cranks up. And I don't know, it kind of just starts to click for people, but there's no such thing as like tone or anything. Toning comes from strength training, building muscle, and then either like recomping through like a maintenance phase with your calories or entering like a calorie deficit and allowing that muscle to pop through fat loss.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, it all just comes down to focusing on the right things at the end of the day. And on that same note, the next thing we have on the list is detox teas. Is that one of the things that we need to be focusing on?
I mean this out of love. If you are drinking detox teas, taking them and thinking something's going to happen, stop taking them, get your nutrition in check, and I promise you'll see more results. That's what I have to say about that one.
Yeah, I really do not like detox teas because honestly, the nurse in me too agrees with what I'm about to say. But a lot of them have like a laxative effect in them, like they have magnesium citrate. And that pretty much causes water to pull into your intestines and can dehydrate you. So, like, you're not like enhancing your gut health or anything, and you're not losing weight. You're pretty much just losing water and you're dehydrated AF. And there is nothing special or fun about that. It's actually
So
can be,
stop.
yeah, so stop. It actually can be very like damaging to your health and detrimental to your training and your health.
Yeah.
So nothing
I
really.
couldn't agree more. I think, yeah, I think it's not easy, but it is simple. Like we keep coming back to the same thing. It's like there's these little things that are going to change things 1%, but like focus on being in a calorie deficit if you want to lose fat, building some muscle by weight training. And those are the things that are going to change your body composition. Is it going to take time? Absolutely. But it's way more simple than people think. And most of the times it's just people trying to sell you these pretty ideas, put a bow on it, sell you
Marketing
this
schemes.
detox tea. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think all of these are great band-aids, but long term, they're not going to get you anywhere, is how I would put it. And I think with all that being said, I think that is something we've all learned throughout our fitness journeys. Like, I'll be the first to admit, when I first started in the gym, like, I was believing in weight trainers. I was looking into detox teas. I thought that weight training would make me bulky. Like, all these things took me years to realize. So it is going to take time, but that's why we're here to unbunk these myths and tell you to stop now, and you will go a lot further.
Yeah, and this kind of leads into our next point of like what's popular, like with marketing and social media, is the fact you don't need like a 6-week workout plan that you follow for 6 weeks and then you just fall off. What you need is progressive overload through a very creative training program for you. So we're going to talk about muscle confusion versus progressive overload, because even some of my clients, they come to me and they're like, hey, how long are we going to follow this program for? Like, a couple weeks, a month, 2 months, when's my new program coming? And I know we've talked about this before, but they think they constantly need something else or like a new plan every single week because they have to confuse the muscle. And they're like, if we're not confusing the muscle, like we're not going to change. Our body's going to adapt. Well, not entirely, because if we're actually training with progressive overload and we're creating a stimulus, then you're going to change. And that's the only way like you can accurately track your progress. If you're doing different workouts week to week, you're going to have no idea if you're getting better or progressing in the gym. So muscle confusion is not a real thing. Instead of trying to confuse the muscle through different workouts week to week, try to train so hard that you're creating a new stimulus week to week and let that be your muscle confusion.
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I get the same things from my clients. They're like, okay, I've done these workouts like this week. So when are they going to change? Are they going to change next week? And I'm like, we want to be sticking to these same ones, because if we are just switching them up all the time, you're not going to be able to measure if you're actually progressing in those. I think that's what it all boils down to, is like, your body is not, just because you're confusing the muscle doesn't mean that we're training harder, right? Because big picture, when we're wanting to build muscle, we need to be breaking down that muscle fiber. We need to be progressing each and every week. And if we're not able to record if we're actually progressing, then your body doesn't want to change. Your body wants to stay the same. Like, it doesn't want to grow. It doesn't want to grow muscle. So we have to be making sure that, like Kate said, we're creating that stimulus. And how we do that is that we're making sure that each and every lift, am I going a little bit harder than I went last week? Am I getting an extra rep? Am I slowing down, maybe adding an extra second on that negative of tempo? Am I stronger now and I can add 5 more pounds? Because that's something that we've touched on in the past too, is that weight is always going to feel heavy. You're going to pick up that 20-pound dumbbell and it is always going to feel heavy, even when you've gotten stronger. But if you've made a note of, hey, I'm doing goblet squats with a 40-pound dumbbell, and I got 12 reps before I could do another rep with perfect form, right? So you're at failure at 12 reps. You can't do 13 before your form starts to break down. And you pick up that 40-pound dumbbell next week, it's still going to feel heavy. But if you're stronger and you've made a note of, okay, now I'm getting 14, 15 reps before I'm at failure. Okay, it's time to go up to that 45-pound weight. It's not going to magically feel lighter one day, but we're always trying to progress in our training so that we can be building muscle.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people think like, oh, I did Bulgarian split squats this week. I need to confuse the muscle next week and do something else. But no, that doesn't work like that. The muscle has no idea what you're doing. All it knows is there's a stimulus being put on it. But if you're jumping from, like, let's say last week you did Bulgarian split squats, and then this next week you're going to go do single leg presses. I mean, sure, you can switch it in here and there if someone's like on your setup for Bulgarians or something. But if you think about it, you already had your setup. You already knew what weights you're going to walk in, and you know how many reps you're going to hit. If you're changing week to week, you're going to go on that leg press and be like, okay, where is my stance? Where is my weight? And you're never going to make like meaningful progressions that way.
You're always trying to figure it out and tweak it.
Yeah.
And then, you're not actually progressing. And I like how you said you can switch them up. Like, even for me, I'll change a variation sometimes. Like, maybe I'll do, Smith machine RDLs instead of dumbbell, but I have a record of what my failure is so that I can look back and be like, okay, I need to at least beat my previous self. Is that going to happen every single week? No, but that's the goal, is that we're always trying to beat our previous self.
And your workouts are in the same order. Like, you're not starting with like RDLs and then going to squats, thrust, and then the next week you're going from hamstring curls to abductions to kickbacks to thrusts. So just write a program and stick to that. And I promise you don't need to confuse the muscle. You just have to train harder than you did last week.
Yep.
Agreed. And on that note of training, 7th thing on the list is training on your period when you're on your cycle, is that a bad thing? What do you guys think?
So I haven't had a cycle in like over a year.
No, I couldn't talk because I was like, I haven't had a cycle since last July, so can't really relate.
Yeah, but I mean, I have it, but I mean, I know like anatomy and stuff, and so I've like, this is a great topic because I see like TikTok girls are like, oh my God, my period's here, I can't train today, and that's not an excuse. Honestly, like getting some movement in, when I did have my cycle, getting some movement in always made me feel better. Yes, I felt bloated, but I would just put on a t-shirt and then go into the gym, and I would always have a super, super good session. Just the way the hormonal fluctuations work, you're not going to be your strongest on like the first day of your period, and that's okay. I would always accept that, but getting in there and just moving made me feel so good. So no, having your period is not an excuse to go to the gym. I would say if like you're just super feeling bad, then maybe switch around your rest days, but try to go like later in the week, because actually as those hormones come back up, you're actually your strongest.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think that I'll be the first to say a lot of my clients say that they're tired or skip when they're on their period, and I think that, if you are like dying and you have the worst cramps, then okay, take a rest day. Don't skip that workout for the week though. Just push it back a day and make that day your rest day, but don't make it an excuse to not show up to the gym.
Yeah, I think there's like that fine line, and I couldn't agree with you guys more, of honestly like humbling yourself and being real with yourself and being like, am I making an excuse for myself right now, or am I listening to my body? Because it goes both ways. And take this little, like, I don't know, when I sometimes am not feeling my best and I'm like, I really don't want to train today, sometimes those are my best sessions, because I get to the gym and I'm like, I felt so much better. But do you need to learn to listen to your body? Absolutely. Because you can also go on the other side of the spectrum and be training so hard, not taking a rest when your body needs it, and go the opposite way. So I think you just really need to be in touch with yourself and be like, okay, am I just making an excuse for myself today? Or is my body trying to tell me don't train today? And I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, last thing, I think this is kind of similar. Number 8 on our list is soreness means you had a good workout. What do you guys think about that?
Okay, you start on this one. I want to know what you have to say.
Yeah, I used to let the fact that if I was sore indicate my workouts, and if I wasn't sore, Like I was
She had a
done.
bad workout,
Oh
guys.
my God, yes. I was like, what is wrong with me? So I'd go and like hit the same training.
I bet you would.
Yeah, but we don't do that anymore because soreness is not an indicator of a good workout. So soreness is DOMS, is delayed onset muscle soreness. And all it means is that you did something new. So that could look like maybe you did like a higher rep range than usual. Maybe you did like a different variation of your workout. Maybe your stance was a little bit wider or more narrow, so different muscles got worked differently. Or maybe you add in some like intensifiers like drop sets or rest pause sets. But just because you're not sore does not mean you didn't have a good workout or work the muscle or make progress. Some days, like when I first started, if I wasn't sore, I'd look back and be like, okay, I would look back at my logbook and be like, okay, I did this weight last week, but I progressed here. So I did make progress. So soreness is not indicative if you had a good session or if you're growing. It literally just means you did something your body isn't used to. And honestly, soreness kind of means you're not recovering good enough. So now I like to be sore if I'm being honest, but I don't let it like determine my mood anymore. But sometimes like if I'm extremely sore, it honestly means I'm not recovering good enough and I'm like, okay, my sleep sucks and something's wrong.
Absolutely. I think that's a great thing to bring up is it really comes down to your recovery too. Because if you're switching up your workouts, kind of like what we were just talking about, like Pilates. I did Pilates 2 days ago and I'm doing these movement patterns that I'm not used to, kind of similar to when I have a new client that's starting out a new training. I'm like, you're going to be sore this week because your body isn't used to these movement patterns. Because I'm sore from that Pilates workout I did 2 days ago, and that made me more sore than my leg day that I had, last week. Does that mean that that was a better workout than my leg day workout? No, it's just different. You're utilizing different movement patterns. So I think that's a really good point that you make, Kate.
Yeah, honestly, I don't like being super sore now because I feel like if I hit legs super hard like 2 days ago and I'm going into train legs today and I'm still super sore, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if my recovery is going to be good enough.
Yeah.
So when we think about muscle growth, what do we know? We know it becomes with training progressions, following the train program, looking to get stronger through like more weight, more reps, and then fueling our bodies properly with nutrition and then recovering properly. You notice how I didn't say soreness or being super sore. So stop chasing soreness and literally chase the basics of strength, recovery, and nutrition.
Tell them.
Amen. Amen.
Mic drop.
Well, on that note, I think that's a great way to close out this episode. I think that sums up everything that we talked about today. I think that there are so many things that are worth debunking in the fitness space, and there's so much marketing that goes into these things where you're trying to be sold something. So I think comes down to the simple things that are going to push you in the right direction and knowing where to focus on those things. And that's what we're here for. That is what Gym Girls Unfiltered is here for, is to break that down. So I hope that you guys continue to follow along. But you guys have anything else?
I would just love to know what the listeners have to say, or if like they have like any certain topics or anything they kind of believed in now and kind of how they got through it and what is actually right that they've learned. I think that'd be cool to hear from you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. Well, leave it in the comments. Of course, we're uploading every Monday at 5 a.m. sharp in the mornings on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and we're on YouTube if you guys want to see our beautiful faces when we are talking.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know about that. If you want to see Boone biting me.
Yeah, right? And our cat's going all over the place. But we'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.